Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Chris with InsideTheU. Thanks for stopping by. Miami Hurricanes spring practice number 2 has been completed. Again, watching about 30 minutes of drills inside the practice facility right behind me, and then the team comes out here and finishes up outside. You know, I want to start with the great look that I got here at the running backs right in front of us and showing you the drills right here. They're using the chute quite a bit in the practices, these 2 practices. Really, Coach Merritt really wants these guys to work on their agility and obviously staying low, and then keeping their balance, getting through there, through the chute, and also through the pads, you know, kind of showing their agility, kind of going left to right as you see here. So that was great. Be able to get this close to the running backs. Don't always get to do that. They're usually on the far side of the field. So this is a great look. And just being able to see guys like Jordan Lyle in action, Gerard Pringle Jr., the freshman, you know, and also Chris Wheatley-Humphrey, you know, back out here. So it's good seeing these guys and kind of go through it. I think the running back position is going to be certainly one to watch. You know, Mark Fletcher had a chance to watch him on the first day of practice. So again, it's good to see these running backs out here, but again, this close-up stuff was good. And also, you know, wasn't able to film this part, but inside run drill. And I've spent a lot of time down there watching the offensive line and the defensive line. Both units are really intriguing to me during spring practices. So starting with the offensive line, I think the news of the spring and the thing to watch for, what goes on at left guard. You know, Ryan Rodriguez earned that start in a tough battle last year to start the season, but he gets hurt there in the opener, and they kind of mixed in Matthew McCoy as well as Jalen Rivers in games, moving over from left tackle to left guard in the middle of games. But look, I think, to me, Ryan Rodriguez is the guy to watch for with that top group. You know, I think he's going to be a guy that, look, he said it after practice today, and he just feels like he wants to get back to that point, and he knows he did a lot of work to earn that spot. So I think going into the spring and throughout the spring, I think in a way, it kind of feels like it's his job to lose. We haven't had a chance to talk to Mario Cristobal about that, or offensive line coach Alex Mirabal yet. But I just from my thoughts of how things are kind of playing out, and then just with the rest of the group on the offensive line, I just think these guys are going to have to get beat out, and I don't see that happening. You know, with Francis Malino at right tackle is back, Inez Cooper back at right guard. Also center, James Brockemeyer, a TCU transfer at center, another transfer center for the Hurricanes. He talked after practice, just getting used to fitting in there, and you know, it's good to see him there. And then Markel Bell, you know, got a lot of experience at left tackle. So I'll be interested to see if there's anybody else, if Matthew McCoy can kind of have a good spring, or if it's going to be those guys, those returners. There's just a lot of returners coming back, and we'll see how the offensive line shapes up. I thought they did good on the inside run drills, showed good physicality, kind of broke a few good runs there, and just competitive battle. Again, not in full pads yet today. They got to go through the inclination period where you just don't get to be in full pads, but looking forward to that and really, you know, getting good assessment of the offensive and defensive line play once they get full pads on. And then with the defensive line, a couple things stood out to me. And, you know, I made a note of this the first day of practice. I want to thank everybody that watched that video where I talked about Corey Heatherman's defense, a stand-up defensive end. But I did not name the guys who I've been seeing or who I expect to be in that role. And guys like Malik Bryant, you know, he's a returning guy, that athletic defensive end. He's a guy that I could see in that role. Booker Pickett also, you know, those guys. I think Herbert Scargins III, you know, I think he's a guy that can kind of do both, can stand up or have his hand on the ground and play that other defensive end spot. So those are kind of some guys, you know. And another guy I know people have asked about, Marquise Lightfoot. I think he's in that mix too. But the one thing I noticed today is, you know, just kind of seeing with Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor, those are the 2 guys coming back. A lot of experience, the most productive defensive ends they have on the roster. And I don't think they're going to stand up. You know, I think they're going to be 2 guys with their hand on the ground. You know, and that's what I think they're going to do. I think Heatherman's going to kind of mix that in. I'll be very curious to watch that throughout the spring. But one thing that stood out to me with Mesidor, who spoke after practice, and I wanted to ask him this question because I find it so intriguing, was he definitely said, look, he's looking forward to being on more of a defensive end this year after playing defensive tackle, and he's done both throughout his career, you know, even before he got to Miami at West Virginia. But he feels more comfortable at defensive end, and I asked him about his weight, you know, if that's going to change at all. Essentially, you know, do you have to get I didn't ask, but essentially, do you have to get a little bit lighter at defensive end? And he said he's going to stay the same. He feels good with where he's at, and I asked him why that is, and he just feels like, you know, there's something physically that he's going to do that he wants to get better at, be more, you know, tighten up, you know, with his, you know, fat percentage and things like that. But he feels like to be able to stop the run, and he just, you know, and going against the tackles as well as opposed to the guards, he just likes the size that he's at right now. So I found that to be intriguing, and I think that is important. And another guy I haven't mentioned, but I think is another key guy, another one of these key young second-year players, Armando Blunt at defensive end. And he's a guy that I think would be something to watch for in the spring. There are a lot of sophomores. I mentioned a bunch after the first day, but Armando Blunt, one of these guys also to watch for. And Mesidor, just likes what he sees from Armando there, and certainly understands he's a young player. So those are just a few things I noticed with the defensive line and what to watch for there. And then after practice, Mesidor had a long talk with defensive coordinator Corey Heatherman. And, just watching him go through, and you could kind of hear a little bit, but just Heatherman was really just working with Mesidor in terms of some technique stuff. And Mesidor said that. Look, he said Corey is a technician and he likes that, and he's looking forward to the defense and seeing how they do. One other thing I want to note with the defensive line that I noticed with going to these practices, that Jason Taylor in particular, but there's a point of emphasis with Coach Taylor that the defensive line, essentially, if they walk up to the line for the next rep, he's sending them back to the huddle and then, essentially blowing the whistle and then having them essentially sprint to the line of scrimmage and essentially get ready quickly and get ready to go. And I hadn't seen that before. Not that they haven't done it, I've just noticed it. So clearly it looks to be a point of emphasis to get the defensive line up on the line of scrimmage and be ready to go. And you just don't see that, or I don't see that very often with the defensive line. That's something you typically always see with the offensive line. Get up there, get the line, get ready to hike it, get set, and go. But the defensive line is taking that approach, and I found that to be interesting just the couple days that I've been out here. And again, maybe it's been something that's happened in the past, but it stood out to me as a point of emphasis in terms of the tempo that the defensive line wants to have to be ready for the next play. Sticking with the defense, I want to talk about the linebackers a little bit because I was watching a drill again. I spent a lot of time today watching the defense, and with the linebackers, and Heatherman's working with them. They were doing a drill where they were working on intercepting passes, and Heatherman has talked about this. Other coaches have talked about Heatherman. They really want to create turnovers. That's a big point of emphasis for him. And for him to put a lot of emphasis in the linebackers, trying to pick off passes. And look, the drill, it's kind of hard to explain, but they're really working on dropping back and then kind of rushing and catching it and then moving forward, kind of essentially get some yards after the interception on the returns. But just they put a lot of emphasis. They put a real big focus on linebackers intercepting passes. And I do wonder if that's going to be something with this defense, with these guys. Are they going to be able to intercept some passes? Last year, they had 4 interceptions as a group. The linebackers had 4 interceptions last season. And just looking back at Minnesota, where Heatherman was last year, his linebackers had 2 interceptions. So I'll be just interested to see if linebacker interceptions is going to be a thing that can help the defense. Because when we talk about interceptions, obviously we're talking about what's going on in the back end, and he wants those guys to intercept passes, but just maybe something to watch for throughout spring practices, and maybe this can be an identity with these linebackers, whether it's Wesley Basaint, Raul, Popo there in the middle, and also mixing in some other guys. Bobby Pruitt's a guy that can maybe fit in that role. I think Bobby's going to be a key guy in this defense, the way I see it. So maybe those are some guys that can kind of fit in there. Flipping it back to the offensive side of the ball with quarterback Carson Beck. He has been out here, and I'm showing you right now. He has been out here at practice, going through those indie drills at the beginning. And, he's not throwing the ball or anything like that, but it's good just seeing him out here. And look, after practice, Brian Rodriguez talked about Carson and the criticism he has faced throughout his college career. And he's looking forward to working with them on the field. And just, the other offensive guys as well. They've enjoyed Carson based on the things that they're saying after practice. But it's just good seeing Carson go through some drills and kind of be around the team a little bit. But again, he's not going to throw anytime soon. We'll see if he does at some point in the spring. But for now, he's just kind of going through these small drills at the beginning of practice when we're able to be out there throughout these position drills, and you see him kind of not do every single indie drill, really paying attention to his throwing arm, with the one that he has surgery on. Just a little bit about the wide receivers and kind of what I saw at the passing game in some of these drills. JoJo Trader caught a big pass, so that was good, going deep. That's going to be something we're going to talk about quite a bit, I think, in spring ball. I just think he's got that in him. He's really good in one-on-one situations. And I just think he's going to be a guy that continues to make plays, and hopefully in scrimmage situations in the spring game, which is going to be right in front of me here at Cobb Stadium once again, that he makes those big plays. I think that would excite the fan base. It would give him a lot of confidence, and also the offense in general. They need that from him, so that'll be something I'll be watching for with the offense. Another position too, a guy that I think can have a really big spring is Elijah Lofton there at tight end. Elijah Arroyo's moved on, and as well as some other guys too, but Elijah Lofton has a really good opportunity again. I mentioned this quite a bit, but one of these second-year guys that has a really good opportunity to step up in a role, and that's been a common theme on offense and defense with these second-year players, talented guys, showed flashes as freshmen, really stepping up in their second season, and the spring is so big for them. Kind of going back to Mark Fletcher, didn't mention this, but he's in his third year, but he said this is his first spring being out here since he's been in college. So he's looking forward to spring ball there. A lot of names to mention. I mentioned quite a few, a little bit more than I did the first day. So I want to thank everybody for watching the video. Drop in the comments below. Who am I not mentioning? What are some key things that you want to hear about? We got a lot of wind here, about lost the camera there. But thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. Drop in the comments below. As always, appreciate you guys. Take care.